Howdy ho, Lions fans. Welcome to the Detroit Lions podcast, episode 561. The Detroit Lions off-season shuffle begins. I'm ready to shuffle, Riz. How about you? We got a lot going on here.
So when you say shuffle to an Ohio University grad, that means the Court Street Shuffle, which means that you drink a different beer at all 18 bars on Court Street. It's a rite of passage when you turn 21 and also when you graduate, and that's the only times I've ever done it. So I don't want to shuffle that, Chris, because I'm too old for that crap now. But I'm ready to talk about the Lions.
Okay. We can do that. I like the Lions, too. We got a lot to talk about. This is Detroit official podcast for Reddit. I'll try this time. Detroit Lions podcast for Reddit. I'm your host, Chris. I already said all that. Hey, we're going to talk about, we got warm-ups. We're going to do those today. We got news about coaches, coaching staff. We're going to do a quick review of the Commanders' divisional round loss. And we're going to talk about the Senior Bowl coverage. We got some big stuff. There's also breaking news that we have that we'll see how the other news goes and how it gets delivered as to how much we say, because we don't want to steal their thunder, but it's done. It's done. I'll just start with that. So we got all that great show lined up. Riz, you ready to go, my brother?
Let's do it.
Let's kick this off and break it down.
All right. Oh, well, Riz, let's start with our warm-ups. Bitter, sweet. As we gather around the fireplace for our conversation today. Bitter. That loss was so sore. It hurt. I
was not ready for it. I really wasn't.
Processing it was the hardest part. We'll talk about the game itself, but processing it was really, really hard. And I've done a lot of retrospective look. I mean, I am fully guilty of looking past the Commanders. I kind of looked at how did I come to my assessment? How did I get there? And I was absolutely wrong, mistaken. I was like, oh my God, how did I miss all these signs of actually how good of a team, how strong of a team they were? But that said, the Lions are still a better team and they should have won. And that's kind of the part of the bitterness of it.
Yeah. So, I said consistently last week, and I said it when we did our live show, if the Lions play a B game or better, they will win. And they didn't.
C-.
They were like a C-, D+ game. And it wasn't just like one player, one unit. Like, so many guys didn't play the way they needed to. So many coaches didn't have good games, including this top coach. Dan Campbell didn't have a good game.
Yeah.
And with all that, they still, until Ben Johnson decided to have J-Mo throw a ball, we're still in that game.
Yeah.
And that's, I do want to give credit to Washington. They are a good football team. And I think people got too caught up in the fact that they had some really poor defensive numbers, like metric wise. They actually have some talent, and that they played a lot of good offenses, and they got better as the year went on. And I think that's one of the things that
haven't lost since November, right?
Right. They beat the Eagles. Now, granted, Jalen Hurts left that game, so we'll see how that goes. But Chris, I kind of think they can beat Philly again.
It's going to be an interesting one. It's going to be an interesting one.
Jalen Hurts being the way he is worries me.
My money's on the Eagles, but you're right. They can beat them. They could definitely beat them. Just like in retrospect, they could beat the Lions, and I should have taken more seriously. I acknowledge that I missed it. I missed that one pretty significantly. So it is what it is. We are there. I gotta give Ryan, because he's got a good Slack reference here. Appreciate y'all for doing a show. Positive energy to your world, Riz. I get to enjoy somewhere east of Michigan and north of Iowa. I'll share that part with the folks on the show too, Ryan, so they can get let in. But it's a little teaser for folks on what's going on.
Thank you, Ryan. I've been dealing with a lot off the field, and I'm hoping that. I'll tell you what, I'm really, really looking forward to going to Mobile next week, just to be away from everything for a little bit.
Yeah.
I'm medically cleared to travel. I got that this morning, so I'm good.
Nice. Ash had a great perspective on this morning's podcast. Ash is fantastic. He really is. He's got it. Don Burr, see you there. How you doing, brother? And on, how you doing? Okay, let's talk about the other bitter part, and this is what I want to talk about, is people's reaction to Ben Johnson's departure. And there's a lot to this, and I think there's a lot of processing and anger that people are carrying. But I just want to. Dan Miller had the best take on this of anybody that I've seen. I'm going to read his tweet because it's fantastic, or his X, whatever. Dan Miller, rated X. Okay, here we go.
Tweet.
Some of you would apparently never take a better job with a massive raise at a competitor. Who cares where Ben Johnson goes? I'm happy for him. Now he's in the list of people who need to get their ass kicked on any given Sunday. Just handle your business. And that's it. And this is the separation of the game and the people. And Dan, again, an absolute professional in every sense, all the time. He can't help but be such a freaking wonderful human being. But we were talking about this at dinner, my wife and I, and it hearkened to what's going on between Buffalo and the Ravens right now. Mark Andrews, they could have won that game if he made that catch for the 2-point, and he didn't. He dropped it.
Yeah.
And people are absolute scum of the earth on the way their death threats, the whole thing to this guy. And I want to say, and this is something about the Bills. We lost. That sucks. The Bills are different than any other team in the NFL to me. One dearest friend, rest his soul, was a Bills fan, grew up a Bills guy, and he'll always have a place in my heart because of him. But there's a relationship between the ownership, the teams, right? There's a thing, the Erie Bros thing, like all that.
Like Erie Bros, baby.
The Bills fans have raised, last I saw, was $60,000 for juvenile diabetes, which is Mark Andrews' charity that he works with. Yeah. And that's a charity that he works with. Bills fans. Now, yeah, sure, you won. It's easy to do that and be a gracious. It's easier to be a gracious victor than it is a gracious loser. But look at how they're treating this, and they're rising above the game of football for this poor guy whose own fan base is treating him like crap. Ben Johnson is a person. He gave us a lot of joy, a lot of hope, a lot of fun in Detroit. Now we hope he continues to lose and fail as a coach, and then maybe he can come back as an offensive coordinator somewhere or here or wherever. But we don't want him to win. We don't want the Bears to win, right? But he did what any one of us would do. That kind of money, to take that kind of a raise to go to a competitor for the company you work for.
He's making more than Dan.
I know, significantly more. Yeah. So it's okay. It's okay that he did it. That's the business. That's the career arc. And a lot of times you wind up to going to a rival or another team that you don't like because it's just the business. There's only 32 teams to go. There's only so many coaching positions. And, you do what's best for you, and you have to. And that's that. Can't hate the man, hate the game, I guess they say. But it sucks that we lost him. He gave us a lot of joy. Congratulations, Ben, on getting the bag. Now go lose. That's where my head's at.
Yeah, I think just the whole confluence of the timing of it, and the fact that he went in and it appeared that he had his staff already assembled. Look, we've never been through this on this side before. That's not uncommon. That's what agents do, guys. That's why they pay that 6% commission to the agents. That's what agents do. They help. They're in contact with the other agents. Like, hey, Dennis Allen's agent, Ben Johnson's agent here. If Ben takes this job in Chicago, is he interested in becoming the defensive coordinator? Agent calls Dennis Allen. Dennis Allen, who's currently unemployed, is like, yep, go. It might be that simple. That kind of stuff happens all the time. It really does. We've just not experienced it before, and the fact that we came off of a soul-crushing loss that we didn't expect makes it that much more hateful. Ben, by the way, did not have a good game. I think it was one of the 3 worst games of his career, coaching-wise.
Yep.
That doesn't help either.
But people automatically attribute it to, oh, well, if he wasn't out interviewing or whatever. But let's talk about, remember when we got Matt Patricia? We did that to the Patriots, and they still won the Super Bowl. right? If you think about it, if you're in the running and you're going to go do those interviews, you're still prepping, you're spending the time. You lost maybe a day to do the actual interview process, but the rest of the stuff you were going to do anyway. And frankly, you've been coaching that offense all season long. You've been driven by the work of your coordinators. You had a bye week there to do the extra work. It's not a distraction. It's not, he didn't throw the game. None of that's all silly stuff, right? No. It happens to every team. It's just that it's the first time that it happened to the Lions. And now that it's so close and in our face, you can kind of look at it and say, maybe we should change this. Maybe the whole coaching process the interview process should open the Tuesday after the Super Bowl and say, go, and let all the teams scramble. That would make for awesome news for the NFL after the Super Bowl, right? Or maybe a week after. It has to be the Tuesday after. They can do their parade in town because they're probably holding on to their coaches, right? They do that, but let the sweepstakes begin after that. Let it fly. And that would be a wild 2-3 weeks of news as all this stuff sorts it out and the bidding wars that happen. Owners don't want that because they don't want to all have to be bidding like that, but that would really take a lot of that distraction away and some of that problem out of it and let them focus on football till the season's over and then go into that whole phase. That's my idea.
Yeah, and I think some of it is also that, they're going to have an 18-game schedule very soon. You can condense the weeks where there's now going to be 2 bye weeks when they do that.
Yep.
You got to get rid of that week between the championship game, the dead weekend with the Super Bowl.
Yep.
And that look, all these things play into one another there. But yeah, just the timing of it, it is what it is. Like, you can't fault Ben for. He's getting $2.5 million more per year than Dan Campbell is. He is the 4th highest paid coach in the NFL, if the figures that we've seen are correct. And I have no reason to believe that they're not.
And $2.5 million is about 20%, about 22% more than what Dan Campbell's making. Yeah. So think about it like that as a percentage rather than just straight dollars, because that puts a little more perspective on it.
Right. And so the other thing with that, the Bears have been notorious for not paying for coaches.
Mm-hmm.
They had to break the bank, and this is where Tom Brady and the Raiders' interest in him came in. Where Jacksonville fired their GM today. What the hell? He ain't going there.
Up until 3 weeks after our last game, you were doing fine. But today, no, it was the white belt. It was the white belt and shoes that really put us off today, right?
That organization is lost. But look, I'm not going to root for Ben Johnson. I'm happy for Ben Johnson as a person and as somebody who knows him a little bit. Like, it's good for him. Like, he's worked his ass off, but he was a great offensive coordinator. I certainly complained about his getting too cute at times, about his lack of fundamental respect for playing football at times.
Yeah.
But it's like what I say about Calvin
wins.
Johnson. The cost of doing business with Calvin Johnson. Calvin Johnson drops the ball a lot.
Yeah.
He also makes spectacular catches all the time. He's a first ballot Hall of Famer and should have been.
Yep.
It doesn't erase the fact he did lead the league in drops 6 times in 7 years.
Yep.
He had more drops in the decade of the 10s to the 20s than any player, and he didn't play 4 of those seasons. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
No, you remember the greatness, because that's what overshines it. That's what's going to happen with Ben Johnson.
Yeah.
He got us the number 1 offense. Now, certainly Dan Campbell, his fingerprints are all over it. By the way, Jared Goff's fingerprints are all over it.
Yep.
Scotty Montgomery has some input in there. Some other guys have been involved in creating it. But
scouting, studying, the run game comes from somebody, right? Yeah.
Yeah. As the maestro that conducts it all together, Ben Johnson, by and large, was a fantastic offensive coordinator.
It
sucks that we don't remember that now.
Well, yeah, and you look at the Sonic and Knuckles thing. Yes, they are absolutely talented players. I don't want to take anything away from that. But how do they get holes? The run game coordinator and that offensive line makes them. That's a big part of it, right? That whole run game was based on and built out of that offensive line, right? There's a lot that comes out of that. Ben is integral. He's part of it. But there's a lot of pieces to this, and the team was built this way. I've gone through we'll talk about the mourning process after the game, but I've gone through a lot of thinking on this team, on the coaching, the losses, and then where things have gotten. And I was really angry. And I think I'm still rightfully so angry at one person in the organization who doesn't seem to fit, but I'm starting to hear, evidence to maybe the contrary that may change my mind as to why, but it's similar reasons that we talked about last year about their desire to pay their people appropriately. So we'll leave it at that. I want Pat D. Thank you so much, brother, for that super chat. We have Dan and Brad. To me, that's what matters most. Happy for AG and Ben. Hope you are both good. Best Lions content there is. Pat D, love you, brother. Okay, so there it is. The sweet part is it's coming. We've got an offensive quarter. We've got a defensive coordinator. We just don't know it yet. Trust me. And
so I just got a message from somebody regarding the name that you told me, and they asked me if I knew if that was happening. I'm not responding to it, but yeah, that would validate what you told me.
The news that I want to say, apart from the bitter to the sweet, is we lost both coordinators. That's tough, but look at where the Eagles are right now. 2 years ago, they lost both coordinators, and they look to be the strongest team in the NFC. Washington has an opportunity, but again, my money's on the Eagles. They're the stronger team. It depends how they show up on game day on Sunday, but they came back. They Super Bowled, and it looks like they're going to miss a year and then Super Bowl again. It can be done, and if anybody can do it, it's a team led by Brad Holmes and Dan Campbell. Those guys have put this team in such a position. I think it was you, Riz, and I referenced you when I did the show with Gray. This is the worst Lions team we're going to see for the next 4 years.
That's right.
We just saw it. And I'm happy with where things are going and how things are playing out.
Every player that is important to the success of the team is locked up through at least the 2026 season, and most of them, especially the younger guys, are at least 1 year beyond that, and then you also have franchise tag control over them after that. Goff's not going anywhere. Sewell, Ragnow, Gibbs, Amon-Ra, Hutch, Branch, Kirby, they're all here for the long term, long term. Mm-hmm. Coaches come and coaches go. Another example, the 49ers. Robert Saleh left. Everybody's like, oh, their defense will never recover. D'Amico Ryans parlayed 1 year of that into being the head coach of the Texans. And you know what? They went to the Super Bowl last year without D'Amico. They had 3 coordinators in 3 years. Still got it done. They lose coaches all the time. The Packers, as much as we loathe them, they've been a coaching hotbed for a very long time, especially when Mike McCarthy was there.
Yeah.
They lost people all the time. They understood who would fit, how to replace the coaches. Again, I've said it several times. I'll say it again. This staff found Ben Johnson and saw something in him that was special. When he got hired, nobody wanted him. Everybody wanted Joe Brady or Steve Sarkisian or Lane. I remember there was a Lane Kiffin contingency. Go get me Lane Kiffin. That guy's brilliant. No. They found what they wanted. They identified good coaching talent, and they've developed it. They fostered it. They found guys like Antoine Randall L., who is a rising star. JT Barrett is going to be talked about a lot in coordination positions, not this year, but probably next year, because he's going to be moving up. They've trust the organization that found the last Ben Johnson to find the next Ben Johnson.
Yep.
It's what they do.
Yep. So bittersweet. That's the warm-ups as we gathered around. We ran a little longer on the warm-ups than we normally do, but I think it was all Lions related rather than just NFL related. And it's all good stuff. It's perspective.
It's also freaking cold. We need the warm-up. It snowed in Gainesville, Chris. What the hell?
I was going to say, they had a freaking snow day at University of Florida today. A snow day. Hello.
We will be in Mobile in 1 week. It was 17 there today.
It's going to be nice next week. We'll talk about that. We've got some
raining, but it'll be better.
As you know, those who watch our coverage at Senior Bowl, it's gotten better, and every year it's gotten better. We're taking an exponential jump this year. Get ready. Hold on to your hats. We'll talk about it here in a little bit. It's going to be big time. Beer worshiping called USC My Snow Angel. I got a hilarious meme picture for you. God, I wish I could share it on YouTube. Sorry. All right, let's get into it. Lions lost the divisional round to the Commanders. This was one, Riz, you saw the output of my period of mourning. I that night I was like, no post game show. It wasn't to preserve a record or anything like that. I was genuinely depressed and I just didn't have it in me, right? And it's not like it's a hobby, right? I didn't have it. I apologize, folks. Normally, I mean, we've done years of losses with this team, but this one hurt more than just about all
last year. We did it together in your hotel room last year.
Right, yeah.
That sounded bad. We did a post-game show in your hotel room after we lost the 49ers lost.
I am so cutting that out.
Yeah, cut that out of the audio-only version, which, by the way, you can get on your favorite podcast provider whenever you want.
Yeah.
If you like and subscribe.
Yeah, and last year didn't hurt as much as this year for me. I don't know why. This year really was a gut punch. I've told people heard on the show, it felt like destiny this year. I genuinely believed that it was the year, and I think that's part of what got into my hubris about the beating the Commanders, the whole thing. And so Riz knows the output of my period. What I do when something like that happens is I have to go be busy and focus on something. And I was like, on to Senior Bowl. What can we do? And he saw, I've got this ranking app that I put together that updates. It scrapes multiple big boards from very, very solid resources, right? Not multiple.
I hope mine's one of them.
Various
draftwire.com
high quality draftwire.com big boards, not just one, multiples, averages the draft position for the players, so it rationalizes the players, their position, their names, rationalizes their draft position, gets a consensus position for each of them, and then live grabs the Senior Bowl roster and then gives me the entire roster based on what position, and it gives the real position as well, not just their Senior Bowl position, because like edge in the Senior Bowl roster is DL, right? Nope, I've got the real position for each of the players listed as well, so that I can now say, where are these guys in the draft? How can I prioritize my study? So I spent a couple hours just banging Python code and setting up some stuff like a nerd, right? But having that kind of focus and that purpose let my brain work on it in the background and let me process it and come out the other side. Mrs. DLP, tears could still flow. She's literally heartbroken from what happened with the team this year. I feel terrible for the poor thing. She's she's my beautiful wife, but they were in her heart this year, and it really broke them. It was
tough. The hard part for me was I was in Columbus over the weekend for a volleyball tournament with a lot of Michigan folks, and Saturday, at least 20% of the people that were there, and keep in mind there was 70 courts in this place, so like maybe a third of the teams were from Michigan. Like everybody's wearing Lions gear.
Yeah,
me too. And all the parents on the team know what I do. All the parents in our entire club, shout out to Far Out, they know what I do. And normally I'm pretty popular on those things. It's Sunday morning. Look, I published my last piece at 2:52 a.m. We had to be on the court at 8 a.m. and I could not pull my hat down far enough. I could not put my earbuds in. Because Chris, you know what happened to you. You saw me last year. When I'm frustrated or angry, I get really quiet. I withdraw inside, and I just did not want to deal with it. So I put on some really aggressive music, and just tuned out and tried to watch and enjoy some volleyball and tried to avoid eye contact with pretty much anybody. If I could have pulled it off, I would have worn sunglasses to just but then you attract attention when who's the asshole with the sunglasses on,
Yes. There's tears behind those shades.
It was rough. And then, got back to the hotel room Sunday afternoon and did not watch football. And I told my wife and my daughter, I'm like, can we just go somewhere and, just be away from everything. And we did. And it was nice. And I thank them for being part of my therapy. But I was dreading being, what happened? I wasn't ready for that. And normally I am. Normally I'm pretty approachable and pretty good about that. But I just was not in the mood for it. So for those of you who do watch it, I did hear from several people who do watch this show a lot when down in Columbus. That was pretty sweet. I apologize, but I needed that for me. And, the drive home was really good because it gave me a lot of time to think and process what's next, what's going forward. This is still a great team. It's a catastrophic loss. There's no doubt about that. But at the same time, it's not the end of the road. The window's still wide freaking open. Mm-hmm. I absolutely believe that, Chris. I know you do. I know most people watching, they know that. They might not want to acknowledge it right now. Y'all know. This is still a great team. This team will be no worse than second favorites to win the NFC next year. Doesn't matter who they bring in as coach. They could bring Chris and I in as coaches. They'd still be that good.
I think that a lot of people are still worried. There's the sense of loss, and then the immediate sense of loss of the coaches, and there's no sound of what does the sun coming up look like? What does the new look like? It's freezing outside. It's miserable. Just about. I mean, it's gray. There's nothing to really redeem your feelings. But I believe tomorrow, and to quote Annie, the sun will come up tomorrow. They'll probably have some announcements for you, and I think we'll start to find that opportunity to heal and find that bright, shining light that says, yes, the window's open. We're a smart team. And I will tell you, there's a plan. All the stuff that you saw there was only one person we lost that we didn't want to so far. So
everybody knew AG was going.
Yeah. So I don't want to say that about AG or Ben because we would have held on to him, but we just knew, right? We just knew. Of the people we didn't, there was nobody we didn't expect except one person that we wanted to hold on to. There's some people that we were okay with losing. We had people in mind. There's a lot of personnel decisions being made. I was worried for a while about, oh my gosh, we're late in the process. We're going to get, the bottom of the barrel picks. I'm going to say just really quick, and it might've been in the Slack here or in the chat here. Somebody said, remember, we got AG and Ben when we were one of the worst teams to even possibly work for. Nobody wanted to come here.
Yes.
I will tell you right now, we are a destination not just for players, but for coaches. People want to be here. This is a great place to work and they know it. So I will just tell you, be happy. The sun will come out tomorrow. It's only a day away, whatever else Annie said. Do you like my curly locks? Do I?
Musical theater just makes me cringe.
You need some.
Julie Andrews is the Antichrist.
You need some freaking culture in your life, boy.
I was just listening to As I Lay Dying before we came on the air. So
I was listening to Phantom of the Opera. All right, so we did lose in the divisional round unexpectedly to the Commanders. Cheers to the Commanders, man. They played a hell of a game. They played the perfect game against the Detroit Lions.
Good for them. You know what? They did it. They really did, Chris.
Yeah.
Jaden Daniels kicked our ass.
Us taking the ball
I don't
first.
know if he kicks our ass.
Sorry, go ahead.
I don't know if he kicks our ass if Amik Robertson stays healthy and Carlton Davis is out there and Lane McNeil's out there and Aiden Hutchinson's out there and Makai Wingo's out there and but that was the hand we were dealt. I think Amik getting hurt when he did was a massive blow because it made AG change the structure of his defense, and they went from having we'll call Amik an A- man cover guy, and he got replaced by a guy who's C- maybe, and that really hurt. Because then that meant the safeties, specifically Kirby, had to pay more attention to the passing game than what they wanted to do, and he couldn't attack as much. And the ripple effects to all that. Hopefully, Amit gets better because he was our best player on the field when we beat Minnesota, and he'll be back.
Yeah,
he will be back.
Yeah. Oh, nobody fills out a dress like you, Chris. Thank you, Flounder. They're only a day away. Yeah, the Commanders did it. The Lions didn't. It was a combination of both. I think taking the ball first. I understand. I wouldn't call it a mistake. I love having the ball after the half, but at the beginning of a game, people are still arriving. They're counting on the crowd, right? Because you always get the late arrivals, especially when you get a good team and it's a little bit more expensive to go. You get a different kind of class, different kind of fan, or
yes, you do.
Glommer, whatever. So taking the ball first on a game like that, totally good with it. Not scoring on that first possession just set the tone. I knew, and I said this, I said, don't worry if they don't. This is a team that can come back. But then Amit, that injury, that I feel horrible for him. I feel absolutely horrible for him, the Lions. But once that happened, the wheels fell off the defensive wagon. I mean, we were just to the bottom of the depth barrel. I mean, Campbell,
you're playing Stanley Oliver Thomas.
Yeah.
Or Thomas. I don't even know if it's Oliver Thomas or Thomas Oliver. I really don't know.
How deep do you have to be? Right? I mean, how deep can you be in a salary cap league? How can you insulate against what happened to that Lions defense this year? It's just, it's just untenable.
And even in that game, Chris, Brian Branch and Iffy leave on the same play.
Yes.
Branch did come back. He clearly wasn't his perfect self. Iffy, as is custom, did not come back.
Yep.
By the way, he won't be back next year.
I will say
he won't be with AG either. I can tell you that much.
People talk about JMO and he's polarizing. People call one group haters, another group, homers, whatever else. I just with him. It's literally I've called him like I see him. And JMO this year was on such a great redemption arc. But I do want to say, if I'm a coach, I'm really frustrated with what we saw at the end of the game. I know it was over. It was 99% loss chance, whatever. But him jogging back from his routes at the end when the clock's running, it's like, man, no. That's all your life in football. You've been told to run at practice. You've been told to run, and to jog back is just that's not.
You got to jog off the field so
Yep.
Leaf can get on the field.
Yep.
Jog off so
That being
Allen
said,
Robinson can stumble onto the field for a play. If you need that rest, that's what you do.
That being said, though, I could see how that pass just deflated him. So in his defense, on the other side, that could take your soul. You shouldn't have thrown the ball. You should have thrown it out of bounds. You thought, now you take on so much of that onto yourself. You didn't call the play, but that was the play. You thought you could force it in there. You wanted that. You had this opportunity. It happened to anybody to be able to do that and not make the right play because you think you trust in yourself. You're a freaking professional athlete. You have to believe in yourself, right? But I can see how that, and then in retrospect, it just tears it out of you. I can see that. Right, I can see how that would happen. He's a complicated dude. I love him. I wish the very, very best. He's got all the talent in the world. I really want to see him use it all the time and have that same kind of mentality from buzzer to buzzer in all the practices and just do that. But be himself off the field. Like, I love who he is off the field, right? But on the field, I feel like I just want a little more out of him. I just want a little more.
You know what I want, Chris? I don't want to hear anything about Jameson Williams until June 19th, which is normally about the week when it's right. Usually the Monday through Wednesday after Father's Day when they have minicamp. I don't want to hear the name Jameson Williams until then. I don't want to hear anything about him, positive, negative, anything.
June 19th, they're on break, bro. You mean Mother's Day?
Father's Day.
After Father's Day, they're on break. They're June. Right, it all ends around June 12th.
Maybe it's earlier than that.
Yeah, it's
so
May.
Rookie minicamp. Yeah, you're right. It is. It is Mother's Day. You're right. They do rookie minicamp. there's the draft is the weekend, and then they have a week off, and then there's rookie minicamp, and then the week after that is regular minicamp. So yeah, you're right on that. It is Mother's Day.
Yeah,
you should know that.
It's okay.
But yeah, I don't want to hear anything about him until then. Like, just lay low, dude. Like, do your thing that you've got to do off the field. I think he does a fantastic job promoting local businesses in Detroit.
He's awesome.
That's cool. Do that.
I love him off the field. I love him off the field.
Yeah, I just don't want to. I want him.
I love him on the field when he's him. Yeah. So we'll see. It could be a maturity thing.
That touchdown run. Oh my god.
Off the charts, man. Like, that's the thing. You can't hate the guy, right? I mean, he has all the pieces, and he's lovable as hell. I mean, he's like a teddy bear. You know what I mean? It's like but God,
I don't put that throw on him. That is a abysmal decision by Ben Johnson. Like, if you want to, and that's one of the reasons why I think that Ben has such a bad game. He called so many plays that required so many different moving parts to all come together perfectly, and the one that got me was the second David Montgomery run. You've got Christian Mahogany in as your right guard, hasn't played much. You're asking Mahogany to make a trap block to the left of Taylor Decker on a guy who's run blitzing.
Yep.
With your power back inside, designed to go wide left. What the hell is that? Like, at some point, understand what your players can and can't do. Maybe give your rookie a little bit of confidence. Maybe let him go smash somebody's ass for a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe make things a little bit easier for him so he can get into the game and feel good about himself instead of, oh crap, I missed that block. David Montgomery got blasted. We have to punt because of it. Like, Ben never understood that. He doesn't grasp that. I think that's going to bother him. I think it's going to bother the Bears a lot.
He's going to have a lot of problems.
He often has unrealistic expectations for it. I had this conversation this summer with Lomas because we were talking about the expansion Browns in 1999, of which Lomas was a member. And I was next door neighbors when I actually moved the weekend that they came back to play. But my neighbor that summer was a player on the Browns offense. And Lomas and I were talking, and I'm like, that offense required you guys up front to do things that no offensive line should ever be asked. And Lomas was like, man, you don't even know. That guy was an idiot. He had no clue what we could and couldn't do. He called for a play that had a 3.7 second route time. Like, I can't do that, and I'm good.
Yeah.
like the unrealistic things that he wanted that offensive line to do.
Well, and let's be honest,
that bugged me.
Graham Glasgow did not have the year that we expected him to have. At times he was a liability. I don't know if there was an injury situation or what, but he wasn't the Graham that we knew. Funny guy, great personality, but he just didn't meet expectations, and that's a stinger.
He cannot sustain a block.
No.
He cannot start next year. If he's your backup, center, backup guard with Mahogany starting one, if Zeitler wants to come back, he will certainly be allowed to come back as a free agent.
Yep.
That would be great. And then you have Graham as your top interior offensive line. I like that.
Yeah.
He's expensive for it, but he's good enough to do it. But Chris, he was the worst offensive lineman in the NFL over the last 8 weeks. That's not just me talking. That's not just PFF. That's also the blown block rate at ESPN. That is SIS, where our good friend Bryce Ross works.
Yeah.
They graded him as the dead last offensive lineman over the last 8 weeks. That can't persist. He gave up 9 pressures and 4 hits on Jared Goff, including the fumble in that game. Unacceptable. Can't do that.
Yep. All right, let's get in. That's it. And Lions fans, it stunk.
Hold on. Okay, I see a comment down here. I'm reading it right now. Maybe Ben Johnson moving on could be a good thing to refresh the offense. I will say, I'll go to the other side of the ball, and this is not a shot at AG in any way. This is an opportunity to do something different on defense. Now, your personnel is pretty well like you, especially with Terrion and Amik, they're man corners. Like, you're not going to ask them to play zone. If you ask Terrion to play zone, you're going to hate that guy. Yeah. You're going to think he's Jeff Okuda 2.0. You want him playing man where he's actually pretty good at it.
Yeah.
This is a chance to get away from the crush the can. Like, maybe a guy like what we wanted James Houston to be has a role on this team now. Maybe you stop having 280-pound defensive ends who don't have quickness but aren't quite big enough to play inside either. And we've got 4 of them on the team right now. Maybe we change to that and mix things up a little bit. This is an opportunity to do some things differently with a new – and again, AG had his defense, and by and large, I think he did a very good job coaching the defense. But this is a chance to try different things and maybe shake things up. So it might work even better. And I do see that as an opportunity, specifically on defense.
Yeah. Just really quick, Chiefs Easy 3-Pete showed up in the chat and wanted to talk some trash. So he did get removed. But since he wanted to do that, just so you know, Chiefs, I stretch your mom's mouth out so bad she plays the tuba backwards. There you go. Enjoy that. Have a great night. All right.
You can't. Remind me not to piss you off. By the way, one other thing about the game.
Okay.
I want to go in on this because we talked about this. I did not want the bye week, and we came out bad. Kansas City got beat by the Houston Texans, and the refs let them off the hook. They had the bye week and looked awful. All 4 teams that got byes in the college football thing, they got beat. It's not the advantage you think it is. It's great to have all the games at home. You get out of rhythm. You get your schedule gets thrown off. Your clock gets thrown off. It is indeed a big deal to not get it. I want to be the 2 seed next year. I don't care who the number was. I want to be number 2 next year. I want to keep playing. I think this team suffered because they didn't keep playing, and Kansas City did the same thing. Now, they needed Mahomes to get healthy, obviously.
But here's the thing.
They were not sharp.
Here's the thing. I think because the bye was so easy, they needed that week because I don't know the difference would have been. There would have been a difference if they played in the first round, to be honest with you, because they were just so beat up and depleted. There would have been no Montgomery.
That's fair.
But so that's a this year thing. We can look at it in a little bit. Let's see.
14-3 in second place next year. I'm good with that. Winning the NFC North by 4 games, which they can do.
The trolls. Choke throat if you want my comeback. You have to scrape your mom's tongue. So let's get back to it. Let's talk about the next piece. We lost Aaron Glenn. He moved on to the New York Jets. Congratulations to Aaron Glenn. What a great deal for him. And it sucks. We're going to talk about a couple guys going, and it sucks to lose Aaron Glenn. He was a great coach. He did great things with lesser talent basically throughout his career here. He never got that full defense until really this year, and then they just started falling like flies. It was horrible. It's crazy.
For
it's
6 weeks, they were top 3
through.
defense.
Yeah. Oh. Yeah. So Aaron Glenn, congratulations on getting what you deserve. You're an AFC team. It's easier to hope you win some games. I hope we kick your ass in the Super Bowl. I mean, that's about it, right? I mean, that's that. There's no real rivalry with the Jets.
With your quarterback.
It buys him an extra year. So
I will say their defense is going to be really good next year. They got some pieces.
Yeah. And good for him going to a team he's played for. The ownership, there's going to be there's going to be, if you can get that brick dick out of the way, I think he'll have a lot of opportunity to do well there. So we'll see how things go over there for him. But congratulations to Aaron Glenn. We knew he was likely going to go this year. He did. He went to the New York Jets. So good on him, and wish him the best, except when he plays Detroit.
100%.
Okay, next one. Let's talk about another loss. Mr. Ben Johnson has moved on. We talked about the hate. Please stop with the hate. He took a lot of money to move his career to a better place at a competitor. That's outside of the game. Be a fan. Hope he loses every game in the division. He just might. There's a lot of things that so when you do things like this, you learn things. And you can't talk about some of them. And there's a lot of reasons why he won't be successful. He's got some reasons why he will be successful. And those are related to him, but you look at that organization, and I just don't see that mix there. The presser today, if it was an indication, we're off to a little bit of a funniness. Some of the conversations that are going on, and even on the team, what they're thinking, it's an absolute shit show over there. The other thing I will tell you is Detroit Lions players are absolutely fired up, and they're calling MCDC and telling them, I can't wait to kick the Bears' ass next year, period. They are fired up. This is going to be an interesting,
they need an extra motivation
and fun game to watch. So be on the lookout, folks. This is one of those ones, black and blue division, any given Sunday. There's a chip on the shoulder kind of games. The Bears games are going to be a lot of fun to watch next year. They're going to be a lot of fun to watch. It's going to be great football, and I'm excited for it. I'm absolutely excited for what that happens.
You can bet that one of them will be a primetime game and the other one will be Thanksgiving.
Yeah. They're
going to want those games.
Yeah. James Houlihan, Detroit's not winning the division next season. The Bears are about to win the division in the conference. Well, they are playing a last place schedule, so they shouldn't be playing too many teams over 500. The Lions are playing a first place schedule, so they got that going for them. But don't count your chickens there, gobbler. Don't. Much like Philadelphia fans who spend their time greasing poles. Be careful how many sausages you put in your mouth. All right, so let's keep going. I'm on tonight, buddy.
This took a weird turn.
I am on tonight.
Lord.
Oh, yeah, it's Ryan Poles. Maybe they're greasing poles in Chicago, too. All right, so let's go on. The next one. This is the one that really stung. Terrell Williams moves on to the New England Patriots. What an improvement we saw with his arrival, man.
Well, but did we? Who got better?
Hutch. McNeil.
Okay. Aleem did. Yes, he did. But
Anzarike.
Their development
Anzarike.
I think he was healthy and trusted his health more than anything. I'm not contributing to that.
But
did Josh Pascal break out?
Highest pressure rate.
Roderick Martin
pressure rate.
Get in the active roster. Like, I'm not even putting that on Terrell either because he was barely here. Like, he got hired while we were at the Senior Bowl last year. In fact, I was introduced to him by Titans writer and good friend of mine, Teron Davenport, was like, hey, you want to go meet your new defensive line coach? I'm like, yeah. So I met him down there last year. Terrell was always going back to wherever Mike Vrabel was going. Like, that was very clear. And I'm going to guess that the Lions knew that going in. As soon as Vrabel took the job at the Patriots, I wrote Terrell Williams. I pre-wrote it.
Yeah.
I got to hit publish. That was last night, early this morning. I got to hit it.
Yeah.
That had been in the can for a long time. It was eminently predictable.
And for fairness' sake, you wrote it in the can. So
probably. I don't know.
Well, that's why I read it. So I figured it's just cans.
I am in there a lot.
Cans all the way down.
It's just cans. It's life is cans and jugs these days.
It's not turtles. It's all the way down. It's cans all the way down.
It's more about like, let's find a defensive line coach who can stick for a little bit. This will be the fourth defensive line coach in as many years. And Todd Wash needed to go.
Yeah.
John Scott really needed to go. He was not good at his job. And if there's been a spot where they have not hired well, like Anthony Lynn, great coach, didn't fit.
Got rid of 100%. This is where I think Terrell Williams and Vrabel, and I think the Patriots are set up as good as they've been since Belichick left with the coaching staff that they have right now. I believe they
might have a quarterback. They don't have an offensive line. They don't have any wide receivers. They do have a quarterback. I think Drake May is going to be decent enough. But yeah, Terrell was clearly going to go there. This is one where I want to see them get somebody who can be here for 3 years and really develop young talent. Because most of Terrell's work is, look, if you know who Terrell Williams, if you've seen him, he's a giant dude. He worked better with the giant dudes inside. That was kind of his thing. His pet projects this year were Levi and Broderick. Levi certainly believed in himself more and at times was really effective. Broderick Martin played his way into being inactive, and I don't know if he's going to make the team next year, quite frankly. And that's a little disappointing. But Terrell is a great sounding board type coach and teaching type coach. I'm just not sure that he reached the players in the way that he had done in Tennessee, and maybe I don't know. I'm happy for him. He's a very good man, and should be a decent defensive coordinator. I will say though, he's going to need a really strong defensive passing game coordinator to work with. And I don't know who. I have no idea who New England's going to get with that, because his work is run stuffing like the interior triangle, your defensive tackles and your middle linebacker. That's where his focus is. Yeah. So the Lions you have an opportunity now to bring somebody in that has a different voice, that maybe sees things differently, sees talent differently. Maybe you address that a little bit higher in the draft than you wanted to, because DJ Reader didn't exactly have the impactful year. I know there's a lot of fans that think he was terrible. I vehemently disagree with that.
He wasn't
terrible. If you thought you were getting 5 sacks out of him, that's on you. That's not who he is. But he could have done more in terms of helping facilitate the guys around him, including Levi, to get more. And I don't think he did as good a job at that as what I wanted or what most fans wanted.
Yeah, 100%. I think he was a definite improvement over where we saw a definite improvement in that line over where they were. And
I would agree with that.
I think
he was certainly better than John Scott.
He was a net positive overall from where we were. Can we get better? We'll see.
That's fair.
I think the team wanted to keep him. I think that's someone they didn't want to lose, but like you said, when Vrabel was there, it was kind of the writings on the wall, and it was like, okay, there's really not a lot we can do unless we back up a bus of money, and that's not something the Lions tend to do. That's just not how they operate. They do not, and it's good. I think they're going to find they're a little bit stingier. Maybe they're better negotiators, but they're a little bit stingier than other teams, and that's probably going to hurt them at some point with keeping coaches that they want.
We'll see on that.
That feels very auto industry. It feels very auto industry to me.
That's not good.
Yeah. So there you go.
Great. Oh boy.
So that's lovely. That. Terrell Williams moves on to New England Patriots. Go ahead. Yeah.
Just find somebody that's good from Terrell and get me somebody that can possibly get anything out of Broderick Martin, who we like. We still like the guy. Dude, you got to show something this year. You have to.
Bromart, yeah. But the thing about Bromart that's nice is, and we were just said it in the chat, right? People are saying, "Oh yeah, he was a bad draft pick." I mean, it's because of the capital we gave up. It was all this. But sit back and take stock and say, it is kind of nice to kind of have to pick and find the bad Brad Holmes draft pick versus Martin Mayhew, where you could put the whole thing on the board and throw a dart at it and hit a bad draft pick, right? I mean, this is a different era. And if you start comparing hit rates I'm not worried about the Bromart. Even if he's a miss, and I'm not saying he is yet, but we missed.
Clock's ticking.
We were early on calling out on Anzarike, right? Well, to be fair, and I mean we've got the horn for James Houston, right? Because he surged and all of a sudden was something that we didn't think. But you're right, the clock is ticking. That's exactly it with Bromart, and that's where we're at. I would love to see my guy, to break through and become the guy that they thought he could be. But from a perspective of hit rate, I'm not mad about a Bromart miss in the scheme of where Brad Holmes has landed with his draft picks.
Yeah. Now, I will do something that will come across as negative, but I'm stating it very matter-of-factly. The Lions are going to get a compensatory pick for Aaron Glenn. It will be either pick 102 or 103 in the draft. Take a look at the guys that Brad has drafted. That's like the area where he hasn't been good. That's where Bromart came from. That's where Giovanni Manu came from. That's where, if he was a little bit later than that or earlier than that,
yeah,
like that's the range where he's taken some really strong developmental risks that haven't paid off as of yet. I think the concept that fans in general, I'm generally speaking here, we're getting a 3rd round pick, and you're thinking, oh, that's great. That could be Kirby Joseph. And it could be. But you're talking, this is more, you're a lot further down here than what I think a lot of fans are. Doesn't mean you can't get a good and useful player out of there, but
it's
most
trade
people
material
taken
though.
in that range are not starters.
It's
and
trade
this
material.
draft specifically, not where you want to be.
It's trade,
but it's
material.
better than nothing, and it didn't cost them anything.
And it's trade material. So that's the thing right there that traded. Yep. And that gives you something. And
keep in mind, your 3rd round pick in the 2025 NFL draft is already on the roster. It's Giovanni Manu.
Yep.
Pray to God he improves a hell of a lot, because he would not have started for the Michigan Panthers last year. That's how raw he was. He literally did not know that he could move his left foot first off the snap. That's a fact.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, that's how raw he was, folks. The athleticism is unreal. The football thing is I mean, it's like teaching a cat to make an omelet. Like, it's so far away from what he's done. Remember, he came to Canada as a basketball player. I'm not taking that charge. Be patient with him, because the athleticism is unreal, and I've learned from various people, he's kind of a funny and pretty interesting dude. I've only ever said hi to him. He shook my hand, and I'm happy that I still have all my fingers from that. I think people are getting a little too far ahead with him. Like, oh, he could be our swing tackle next year. I'm like, he's got to show a lot of improvement. Maybe he will. I hope he does. But that's your 3rd round pick. You don't have a 4th round pick. I'm sorry, you do have a 4th round pick. You don't have your own 4th round pick. You have Philadelphia's. You do not have a 5th round pick. You do not have a 6th round pick that's your own. You have, I think it's the Jets. And then we have 3 7ths. So you go 1, 2, the comp pick at the end of the 3rd, the 4th pick, it's going to be in the 130s. And then you go to the 180, 190 range. And then all 3 of the 7th round picks will be at least 210, 215 or later. So this is a draft where we'll talk about the draft next week at the senior.
Yeah. We'll get that.
Just be aware that there's very limited draft assets relative to what we're used to in Detroit. Yeah. We're picking 28th. I want to be picking.
Don't worry, Brad's gonna make things move. I will say right now, we don't know where we're picking. To be honest with you, we'll see what happens. There's a lot.
Yes.
There's lots.
That's why I wrote when I wrote at Lions Wire what I did. I said 8 candidates to know for the Lions' first pick, and I specifically said not necessarily first round, their first pick.
But
it could be 20, it could be 40.
I got a name that I got in mind, but we'll see. We'll get to that. Let's talk about the outlook on the coaching staff from here. Right?
Okay.
We've lost a number of coaches. Sorry. There's still some that have to be determined. There's still things that have to be figured out. I want to just give people a wild Didn't take it what you want. I think if I put on my crystal ball and I start looking, I think that maybe I feel west of the Mississippi. I feel the west of the Mississippi, and the spirits are telling me north of Texas is the team from which we will find an offensive coordinator.
Are you looking California but feeling Minnesota, Chris?
He's going to be a white guy. I'm sensing that it's coming to me. Now, the ball's turning around. The ball's turning around. See, it's the east of the Mississippi now. We're going east. And south of the Ohio, they're not hiring any Ohio Bobcats. Riz, for a defensive coordinator. And I think I have he's going to be a brother.
Bring my guy.
That's my crystal ball. That's my crystal ball. And we'll know tomorrow or the next day.
I'll tell you what. I've been informed on a couple of the departures. I'm completely in the dark and in total reaction mode on who they're bringing in, and Chris, I kind of like it. I kind of like not knowing.
Yeah.
I say that about the draft too. Like I like not knowing. This year, Terrion Arnold was very, very high on my list. I had a very good idea that they were going after him, but I didn't know.
Yeah.
But that wasn't the year that they took moved up for Gibbs. I thought they might take Gibbs at 18. I thought they might take Brian Branch there. They got them, but the way that they got them was whoa, I'm flabbergasted. I'm happily shocked. I'm hoping that I have that feeling tomorrow morning when they announce who at least one of the coaches is. Because I don't know. There's the names are out there. You shared a couple of them with me. I've heard one of them specifically in a different chat from the people who that player or that coach is from. We'll see if that works out.
I'm excited. I'm really excited. I think that this is. I said it, so this is funny. I'm thinking. I said it in the Slack. I was like, these guys are playing 3D chess, and they're like, "Isn't chess in 3D?" And I'm like, "Well, no, it's a 2-dimensional space, but I guess the pieces are 3D." God damn it! So they're playing 4D chess. Fine, whatever. My God, I really think this is Super Campbell and Super Holmes. There's a lot of people who are going to be like, huh, what? And have to start Googling and Wikipedia and all that. This is good. I'm glad where the Lions are. I'm glad the plan is being in place. And again, I don't want to take away from it's these guys. It's these guys whose job it is. It's the team. It's their glory to give when they make the announcement. I'm not stealing that. I'm not doing that. Right. That's not what I'm here to do, because they all deserve their opportunity to have that moment, and they've earned it through everything they've done. But I'm excited for what the Lions have and what they've done. And actually in the end, how they did it. There was a period where I was really frustrated. There's more to come. There's more to be done. Nothing's, fully locked in yet. There's some things that I want to see, but I got to tell you, when I keep saying trust Holmes, trust Campbell, trust the team, and then I myself get to a point where I get a little bit shook up and I'm like, ugh, and then they prove me wrong. They prove me wrong.
Somebody was fishing for information from me, and I gave it very simple. I don't know. The whole Ozzy Osbourne. I got to put the song that needs to be my ringtone next week. Don't ask me. I don't know.
Yeah, and it's look, it's. I was dying. I don't want to take away from these guys. They deserve it. They've earned this honor for the announcement. And there's so many things that get leaked and ruined and wrecked. And I'm just not. That's not who we are. That's not what we do. Right? I'm sorry. So anyway, it's really good. The Lions are in good space. Be happy. The sun will come out tomorrow, or maybe the next day, but I think tomorrow is going to be the first rays of sunshine. So good stuff from this Detroit Lions, from this GM, from this staff. again, if 4D chess, like I thought it was 3D and they're already at 4D. Like they're a whole dimension ahead of me. Like what the hell? So no, good stuff. Good stuff for this team. I told you what I had to process it, what happened with the game. I had to work through it. I was really, really disheartened. And getting through it, getting to this point, watching these guys, losing Ben, which of course we thought was going to happen. That sucked. We knew could happen. That sucked. AG, love the guy to death. Never, ever will I forget the wet glasses day, that game with him, that look. I mean, I'll never, ever forget that. Those guys, they deserve to be honored for the joy that they brought to us as Lions fans, what they brought to the team, the players, the hope to the city fans. These guys deserve to be honored for that. Yeah, you went to Chicago. Hope you lose now. That's it. I hope you, have a great life. Congratulations on the job and the money, but I hope you lose. And that's that. So that's where we are. So I think we're good. Riz, anything you want to add? Sorry, I'm
just so there's been some talk that Lance Newmark is interviewing with the Jets to be their GM. It just came across somebody, actually 2 different people sent it to me. The Jets have second interviews set up with 2 other GM candidates as well, which would lead me to believe that maybe Lance Newmark isn't going anywhere. Look, he's been here forever. He was here with Millen. That's when he came in. To leave now, when you've been here that long? No, man. That's, yeah. I hope he stays. He's a good integral part of coordinating between the scouting department and Ray Agnew and Brad Holmes and the pro player department and the money side of things with Mike Disner. He kind of does all that, and he would be a loss. So I hope that he comes back. But he did interview twice with the Jets. He did leave the building. AG did not. So that's what I know about that.
Yeah. Oh gosh, I wish I'd love to share, but it's theirs. It's their moment. There we go. Okay, let's see. So that's that's the outlook. Be happy and just sleep well tonight, knowing that we're in great hands. We have been in great hands, and we will continue to be in great hands with this team. They still have work to do till it's completely settled and everything's happy and shiny, but we're on the way and they're doing some of the right things. So there we go. Let's talk a little bit, Riz, about the draft and the Senior Bowl coverage coming up, because this is really, really big. The season's over for the Lions. It's now, how does the team get better? How do they grow? And this is, where Brad Holmes earns his money and has earned his trust and money so far. Senior Bowl is really the big start of the draft season. And this year, we've got, so it starts Monday morning, first thing, 6 a.m. We will have players. Last year, I think we had 14 different player interviews. It's going to cross 20 at least this year, player interviews that we have. We're going to be rocking it this year. And our daily close show is going to be at the stadium. We will be broadcasting from Hancock Whitney Stadium, where the practices happen. Now, this is our opportunity. We've talked to Ian Rappaport. We talked to all kinds of people at the stadium while we're there. We expect to pick up some interviews from some national guys while we're there, some big people, and have some really, really good conversations for our closing shows at the end of the day after practices when we're talking about guys. So we usually, it's usually like 5-6 interviews. We do a morning show, and then we go out, practices all day, and then we'll do an end-of-day show with some really, really good stuff. The content just flies Monday through Thursday next year. We interviewed the commission, Jim Nagy from the Super Senior Bowl before. We'll have him on again this year. We'll do that. But it is a blast of content all week. So hold on to your hats, tune in. I believe what we're going to do again is, rather than do a lot of live stuff, we're going to release them as recorded. It depends on what their internet is like this year. It's been problematic before.
It's been rough.
Yeah. it is Mobile, Alabama, right? But by the same token, like we shook Bill Belichick's hand there one year. This is the only place where you get this close to the NFL Illuminati and rub shoulders. I walked right behind Mike Vrabel, and I was like up to his armpit, in height. The guy's a monster.
He's a big dude.
Used to sit behind Bob Quinn. Remember, we knew exactly where to sit for the weigh-in, and we would sit behind him to the right and watch him talking to his scouts and do that. I mean, this is the chance where you really, really get into all of the insides, outsides, and rub elbows and see with not just the NFL Illuminati, but the press across the board. And then it's the whole deal. And it starts this coming Monday. This coming Monday is when it starts. So.
Practices start Tuesday, but we will be down there. I get in Sunday. I think you get in Sunday too, don't you?
Yes, sir. I will be. I land at 12 o'clock local time there.
Yep. And Russ Brown will be down there as well. I've invited him to join in the festivities. He's looking forward to it as well.
Yeah, we'll definitely have him on the show with us. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. And his scouting eye, he and I, we do a lot of talking behind the scenes with Lions Wire, obviously. He sees players differently than I do, and I love that. Like, I like it when people question my evaluations, like, well, what makes you think this? Or where do you see this? Because I don't see that. We do that back and forth all the time, and I think it's been very healthy. I think it has made me a better evaluator, and I hope that it's made him a better evaluator as well.
Well, that's what I love about.
Maybe we'll try to do some of that stuff on the air, because there are a couple of guys down there that we have both circled, and we're like, we don't see them the same. So maybe we can talk that on the air. I think
I want to talk about a guy in a second, but that's what I love about both Lions Wire and what we've got going on here. Like, they'll tell you, like, and Bish, it's frustrated him sometimes, but Gray, Ash, I don't even give them feedback on what they do. I let them go and let them do whatever you want.
That's
like
true.
With Dr. Liao, look, and it's not meant maliciously. It's like, I don't want to be an editorial thumb on them. I want them to explore the topics that are of interest and the things that they see. I don't want to. I don't censor. I mean, that's not it. I mean, we had some grouchy people in the Slack, and I let them go until their subscription ran out, and that's it. Okay, see you later. I don't censor. People can talk. I'm not afraid of mean words, right? So it's the same thing with different opinions. And I mean, I would look for some stuff from Dr. Liao, an expanding role for him as well on the show. He's fantastic, man. His sense of humor is just amazing. But
he's gold.
Oh God, he is. I love it. And that's where, like, Riz, you've got that at Lions Wire with your folks, and we have a lot of crossover between Lions Wire and the Detroit Lions podcast, the folks. And it's fantastic to see all the input and the different perspectives, because no one's right on everything. And that's the magic. Like, if you want to hit somebody for being wrong about a take, great. People are fallible. But you have just found the thing that every single human being knows and pointed it out. Like, nice job. Wow, you're
the only thing I will ask is, remember when I get them right too.
Yeah, get them right, get them wrong, remember, that's it. That's fine. Go with that. So there you go. That's that. Senior Bowl is coming. It's going to be a riot. We will have an absolute blast, and we will ensure that you do as well. And again,
Chris, the only thing I'm sad about
is huge. Go ahead.
I can't eat the Sugar Rush burger this year.
Oh man. So
it's bacon double cheeseburger dripping with homemade barbecue sauce,
wrapped
with king cake donuts as the buns. I can't do it this
I've never had one, but I sit there and I watch you eat it, and I'm like, I want a donut.
It's
a donut.
We will still go to the beer garden, even though neither you or I can drink right now.
I know.
That's going to be weird.
I haven't tried.
That's going to be weird.
So I'll share the story with everybody before we hang on. I've been dry January all month. I haven't drank all month, except I got on a flight, and I was a little discombobulated. I was coming home, and I was supposed to fly through Atlanta, but then there was a snowstorm, and people were trapped there for a couple of days. They wound up routing me through Cincinnati instead. I'm like, I've never been to Cincinnati Airport. What the hell? Where are we?
Welcome to Northern Kentucky.
And then they upgraded me, from Cincinnati to Tampa. So I'm like, okay, I get on the plane. They sit down. I'm sitting up there, and they're like, hey, would you like a drink? Muscle memory. Yeah, Jack and Coke. Okay. So I get Jack and Coke, and I drink it. I'm like, okay. And then we take off, and they come back around. You want another drink? I was like, yeah, Jack and Coke. And about halfway through it, and I was like, oh, it literally just muscle memory ordered a Jack and Coke, not even thinking, like, I'm doing dry January. What the hell? So those are the only two drinks I've had the entire month. So What are you going to do?
I'm not doing it by choice, but I am doing it.
Yeah, I will have a couple, but I won't be as crazy. You're not going to have to carry me home. I'll know where my phone is, Riz.
I can't carry you home. Well, I believe we're in the same hotel again this year as well. So.
Yes. It's getting easier every time, though, buddy. Every time we go, it gets easier. One of these times, you'll be able to carry me home. All right. With that, let's call it a run. Don't forget us on Patreon, patreon.com/Detroit Lions podcasts. $5 a month gets you into the Slack chat, which had all kinds of information about what's going on before everybody else. It's a great place to hang out. Smartest, most intelligent Lions chat on the internet. Also follow us on Twitter at DET Lions Podcast and at Jeff Risden. He's Jeff Riz on the Blue Sky. We're Detroit Lions Podcast or DET Lions Podcast everywhere. So find us. We're there. Join us for all the fun. Also go to DetroitLionsPodcast.com. Subscribe to the podcast. And what happens when they do, Riz? I forget.
I get to come in your ear holes automatically.
And look, he's not felt good. He needs a little help. Give him your ear holes. Just loan him your ear holes for a little bit. He needs a little release. Thank you for tuning in. We're going to see you next time on the Detroit Lions Podcast. Remember, no pants, no toasters, no hot tubs, no problems, and maybe some plugged up ears because we're Detroit Lions and Reddit Connection. Thank you. We'll see you all from the Senior Bowl.